another story for you. It comes fresh from Haringey, actually Green Lanes to be precise. Some people living in Haringey say there's a lack of diversity in the restaurants and the shops on offer at Green Lanes. There's no room, they say, for any other type of shop. They say the rapid rise in the number of places to eat and drink is killing the high street. One of the newest restaurants takes up 3 shop fronts, and residents claim that these were knocked into one without full planning consent. Our reporter Barry Caffrey is on Haringey Green Lanes this morning. Barry, good morning to you.
Good morning, Vanessa. Yes, I'm just on Haringey Green Lanes this morning, and as you walk up Haringey Green Lanes from Manor House, you know, the amount of restaurants on this street is quite significant. But of course, Green Lanes has always been known as an area for Turkish and Cypriot restaurants. But the problem is that one of these restaurants has actually opened without proper planning permission, and it's spread across 3 shop fronts. I'm joined by Alice, Vanessa. Alice actually lives in the flats which she shares with her flatmate just above this restaurant. And Alice, clearly a problem for you. What is it that you're objecting to?
Good morning. As a resident living above that development, for me there's quite some cause for concern, regardless of the kind of cultural ethnicity of the restaurant and the food that they serve. More my concerns really stem from whether their construction work and the building practice has been done to the proper standards and regulation. Unfortunately, we've got quite a number of examples. We're standing on the street now and we can see all the kitchen equipment runs directly underneath our flat. That's our sole fire exit that's shared between not only our flat but the other flats in our block. You can see that the kitchen equipment is kind of steaming, the electricity's on overnight. Yeah,
because we had a look in, Vanessa, just to let you know, the actual, the restaurant is closed at the moment, but Alice was showing me, we looked through the windows, and it's quite clear that the kitchen equipment has been left on, and actually there was steam coming out of some of the water, so that clearly doesn't seem to be right.
I mean, it's great for heating our flat, and it's making it very warm, but we're also getting the invasion of smell. Unfortunately, I've got concerns as well as to the kind of the structural integrity of the construction work that they've done. We've got quite big cracks in the joining wall in our flat, which gives me concern that there's some sort of movement, sediment underneath. We can also see the kind of big industrial fan, an extractor fan that they've placed right outside our windows. And it just gives me enough reasons to have cause for concern that this hasn't really gone through the proper processes.
And this restaurant was, before it opened last week, about 6 months ago, it used to be a greengrocer's, so they've changed it to a restaurant. Did you know why that happened, or did you try and find out?
I think it was a little longer than 6 months ago that it was a greengrocer's, but it's been under construction work for some time. And the shutters have always been down. It's been very hard to kind of get any information about what's going on, and it's only with sort of real sort of Erin Brockovich type digging around trying to get answers from the council into the planning applications that I've managed to unearth what's been going on and what use they're looking to turn it into.
It's very clear that different areas of London have different ethnicities, and with that come restaurants, places like Chinatown, Brick Lane, and Haringey Green Lanes is always known as an area where there's a real kind of variety of Turkish restaurants, and a lot of them open quite late at night because they like to eat late at night. But you don't have a problem with the restaurant being Turkish. Your concern is actually that it's, you know, there's been no planning permission to get it to where it is.
Absolutely. I have no qualms whether this restaurant is Turkish, Italian, Vietnamese. The ethnicity of the cuisine is not my concern. When you walk down Green Lanes, yes, there is a kind of vibrancy and diversity that you can, it's quite obvious as soon as you kind of get off the train that you can see it and you can feel it. And I think it's what attracts a lot of people to this area. But it has got to a point where it's really important to consider at what cost does the kind of further development of more restaurants, more kind of nighttime culture have as an impact, not only to small businesses here, but residents as well. The council refused their latest planning application based on some of the regulations that they have around maintaining the kind of vibrancy and diversity of the town centre. And that is brilliant that those regulations are maintained and in place, but they are only as good as their enforcement and the consistency to which they're upheld. When you walk down Green Lanes, you know, we're also stood opposite 3 betting shops, and whilst they're not restaurants, they're also not offering a huge amount of diversity in terms of the different kinds of shops that you can get, and there isn't much now to offer a kind of daytime economy along this, the Green Lane strip. We've also got a post office which is at risk of closing down, so we're starting to lose the kind of essence of this really vibrant community and residential area, and it's starting to shift towards that nighttime economy.
And while restaurants and the nighttime economy is important, the daytime economy is important too. Alice, we've had a statement from Harringay Council. A spokesperson told us that the site started trading as a restaurant without the benefit of planning permission. They're preparing to take enforcement action. You have been in touch with the council. What have they said to you?
Well, I haven't managed to get a response from them. I've tried to go through all the proper means to report what's been going on, to submit complaints through the proper processes, and my experience is that it's been very difficult to try and get any kind of response, answer, communication, and it's been pretty opaque. I think anyone who's had to try and look into kind of planning applications, it's fairly bureaucratic and it's not the easiest kind of amount of legal law to look into, and I'm no expert, and like I said, I've had to sort of Erin Brockovich my education around all of this. I've only found out via an article in the newspaper earlier this week that they were even aware, despite me submitting a response, and I've struggled to kind of actually get any answer from them. I've submitted back in early July, late June, complaints around the kind of air conditioning units and extractor fans, and whilst I've got the kind of automated response that this would be looked into within sort of 10 working days, 2 working days, I think the different departments have different lead times.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything back from them. So.
Well, Alice, they have told us, the council, that the sole issue from their end is that they started trading this restaurant without planning permission. The type of restaurant isn't a factor at all. But Vanessa, Alice, just one of the local neighbours here, quite angry and quite concerned around the safety, the fact that this restaurant, such a large restaurant, can open up without planning permission here on Haringey Green Lanes.
Thank you very much, Barry Caffrey. Talking about the restaurantisation, this is a really foul verb, nevertheless. That's one of the words that's being used this morning. In other words, is your local shopping area just a den of restaurants and you can't buy anything or do anything else except go out for meals? And if so, is it affecting, do you feel, the diversity of your neighbourhood? 0207 224 2000. On the subject of Brexit and the so-called divorce is Harry in Northolt. Hello, Harry. Good morning to you. Hello? Hi.
No, I just was trying to say,